So chapter 5 moves us into the qualitative data. So our learning outcome here is that students will be able to summarize the qualitative data regarding emerging adults' religious ideas and beliefs. And so this is one of the things that I love about this book, that they are doing these mixed methods. They're looking at big, nationally representative survey data, but then they're also diving deep into the interview data and exploring meaning in these young adults' lives. So they call this chapter The Cultural Structures in Emerging Adult Religion. These are the themes that the researchers found in the 230 interviews with emerging adults. And I'll say too, if you haven't done qualitative research before, reading through 230 interviews is just a massive, beastly undertaking. So remember that chapter 2 was about their cultural worlds, just kind of life in general, whereas chapter 5 is specifically about their ideas and beliefs when it comes to religion. And we can, ideally, we can contrast this with the survey data, not in a way to think that one form of data collection is better than the other, but that they complement each other. So rather than looking at tables of aggregated data, we have quotes and analysis of quotes. And that's, if you've had a class with me before and done qualitative data research, you know how much I try to focus on analyzing your quotes. You can't just throw quotes in there from your participants. You have to unpack them. What do they mean? What are they connected to? What's going on here sociologically? And so the quotes are the data here. If you haven't encountered sociological data before, it's not just the numbers, it's the explanations too. All right, I wanted to just note kind of quickly about what he says about moralistic therapeutic deism. So in their first book called Soul Searching, which was the book based on the first wave of data, the religion among 13 through 17-year-olds, they came up with this term, moralistic therapeutic deism. So these are the 5 key beliefs of MTD. A God exists who created the world and watches over humans. Again, the 5 key beliefs that came out of the interview data. God wants people to be nice to each other. The central goal of life is to be happy and feel good about yourself. God doesn't need to be involved in your life except to solve a problem, and good people go to heaven when they die. So he's kind of addressing the point here as they're going through these themes about religion, the idea of like, wait, what happened to moralistic therapeutic deism? Is it still, this finding that you had in wave 1, is it still true or not? So he says that while emerging adults still kind of hold these general feel-good views about God and religion, now they've been shaped more by their life experiences. So now emerging adults are having more variety in their beliefs and more originality instead of kind of just these warm, fuzzy feelings, and more alternatives. So I am going to go over the 16 of these. I hope this doesn't bore you to death. You can pause the video if you need to. All right, so the first thing here, and I would encourage you with the discussion question that will be at the end, what's the main themes that you see coming out of all 16 of these? So the first idea is that religion is not a very threatening topic for emerging adults. They're happy to talk about religion if it comes up. They kind of feel guilty for not doing what they should be doing, just like people feel guilty for not eating enough fruits and vegetables, that kind of comparison there. But in general, they're fine to talk about it. One of the less typical themes along the same line was some folks just had no idea when they were asked about their religious beliefs. There just was a lack of answer, and they had no opinions or beliefs. Secondly, in terms of thinking about religion, some folks, or one theme that they found was indifference, that religion is just there and there's just not really much to think about or talk about. So this is different than, not having any idea and it not being threatening, but just kind of like a meh, not really caring about it. Third, a third theme was that the shared central principles of religions are good. So folks see that a lot of the major world religions just have a lot of similarities that they, and these are some of the things that come out in the next few themes here, but that there's a lot of shared principles, and they're good, and that people should be good people, and that's generally what religion says. Fourth, religious particularities are peripheral. So this is really in connection with the third point here, that the religious differences that religions have, they don't really matter. They're not the important part. It's the core, it's that number 3 there, that's the really important part. So differences don't matter. The less typical idea here was the folks who said, my religion is the true religion. This came out mostly with evangelicals, Mormons, Black Protestants, and a few Catholics and Jews. They said that the minority of folks are certain that their own religion is true, but that they weren't obnoxious about it. I'm sure that there are folks out there in the world who are obnoxious about it, just as there are folks who are obnoxious about everything in life. But in general, that wasn't a theme from their interviews. Fifth, the purpose of religion is for making good people. So again, going along the lines with number 3 there, people should be good people and live good lives. Number 6, religious congregations are elementary schools of morals. So religious congregations are where kids should learn right and wrong. And I hope this really rings a bell with you in terms of reading Eklund and Lee, that even the atheists and agnostics agree with this, that it's a place where kids can learn right and wrong. Number 7, a family's faith is associated with dependence. So as we see teens grow into emerging adults, and they want to assert their independence from their family, one way to do this is to also assert their independence from their family's faith. So they're kind of distancing themselves, and this could be in any sort of direction. Maybe they're moving into a religious faith when a family has not been religious, or the opposite, moving out of a faith when their family has been religious, moving into a different religious faith. And then a less typical theme here was that my faith is really important to me, that there are some emerging adults who are seriously committed to their faith. Number 8, not a place of real belonging. So for these folks, for most emerging adults, church is not their main social group. Again, I hope this rings a bell with Unit 2. This makes me think of the social embeddedness article, right? It's not that emerging adults feel uncomfortable and that they feel that they just feel like they don't belong there and they would rather be somewhere else, that the majority of their friends aren't there. Number 9 is that their friends hardly talk about religion. They said how some of them didn't know what their friends' religious beliefs were. It just wasn't an important topic to talk about with their friends. Number 10, religious beliefs are cognitive assents, not life drivers. So most emerging adults do have religious beliefs, they just don't connect to how they live their lives. So the idea that, and I think this connects with the general idea that we find in sociology, that when we, for example, when we take survey data about beliefs and actions, that a lot of times our actions don't actually align with our beliefs. We like to believe in these ideals when we don't actually live our lives that way. So that's true with religion and then other things as well. Number 11, what seems right to me is authority. So people get to determine for themselves what is right and wrong. This is really an individual thing here. Number 12, take or leave what you want. So folks talked about taking the morals of religion that you think are useful to you and then leaving the rest. And it's really a pick and choose type thing. Number 13, evidence and proof trump blind faith. The idea that science is about evidence, focusing on the science, and if there's no evidence for religious teachings, then why believe in them, say the emerging adults. A less typical theme here was the idea that I'm open to some kind of higher power. This reflected people who were more open and less consumeristic about the idea that there's something more powerful than themselves out there. Number 14 here, getting near the end, that religion is fine, probably. And I have in my notes that it's fine. Just, it's just fine. Probably. That there's the idea of, is religion problematic or fine? And that most people said, meh, it's fine. But there were two less typical answers along this line. One was folks that said, no, mainstream organized religion, that's a problem. These are people who are skeptical and disappointed by organized religion. And then on the other extreme, there's the folks who say, no, I feel very close to God. So really we have the whole continuum of it's a problem, close to God, and everything's just fine in the middle. And number 15, personal, not social or institutional. So people talked about that it's an individual and personal choice to be religious, that it's up to the individual, that it's focused on the individual. People should do whatever they want. And then, the last point here, there's no way to finally know what's true. Everyone believes what they want to believe, and that's fine because there's no way to find out. So I've got, in terms of discussion questions for this chapter, what you can engage with. So what are some prevailing themes you notice in chapter 5 when it comes to what emerging adults believe about religion? So taking into account those 16 things, how would you group them? What are some overarching main ideas that stand out to you? Not just like number 3, but like how would you group a whole bunch of them together? And what are they really speaking to? Which of these themes stand out to you and why? And then finally, are you surprised about the existence of or lack of more of those less typical themes? So go ahead and engage with those or continue in the lecture. We've got just one more part.